Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing today? Wanted to make a video today talking about downsizing, possessions, and Craigslist. Wanted to make a video here talking about moving from a house, an apartment, a condo, a sticks and bricks situation to moving into an RV situation. And just talk a little bit about how I made that change and a little bit about my story and my process of going through. And certainly, in making this shift, I had to downsize a lot of things. I had to move the things that I was not willing to let go or sell or give up. I had to move those things into self storage. So I just want to talk a little bit about that process and how I went about doing that, and then also give you a few tips in selling some of those things through my experience. So yeah, I'm a big, huge Craigslist person. I buy as many things as I possibly can on and through Craigslist, and I also sell as many things as I can through Craigslist. I like selling things on Craigslist, versus like eBay, for example. eBay just has a lot of fees with everything, and they're constantly sticking their hand, into your pocket, and to try to get more fees from you in when you're selling things on eBay. So I really try to stay away from eBay as much as possible. Now, there are some things where eBay can really be helpful because you might have something that's very valuable and it may be in limited supply in your geographic area. And so, meaning that, say, I'm on the West Coast and there are people living on the East Coast that they're looking for something that I have, but it's very hard to find on the East Coast. One that comes to my mind is RVs. There are sometimes certain types of RVs that are difficult to come across on the East Coast, and so they have to buy stuff from the West Coast to get what they want. So in that situation, eBay can be a very, very valuable tool, and it in a lot of cases it would be worth paying whatever fees that they ask for when you sell. So that's kind of my take on that. Like I said, I have done a lot of selling on eBay. I have sold a lot of things. There was only one time where the transaction didn't go very well. I didn't get burned, but I didn't stipulate in my terms of the sale. Basically what happened, I sold a brand new pair of boots to somebody, and they received them, they tried them on, they decided that they didn't like them or they didn't fit or whatever, and they directly shipped them back to me without my approval. So what I learned from that experience is just make sure that you have everything in writing, in your terms, or whatever your terms of your agreement is, that I'm not accepting any returns on this item. This is as is only, so that you can cover yourself in the event of that particular situation. So in my situation, it wasn't that, they didn't fit, it was the correct size and everything, and he just didn't like them, so he just sent them back to me. So that was kind of one cautionary thing with eBay. But eBay can, depending on what you're selling, you can do very well with it. So going back to Craigslist, like I said, I have done most of my buying and selling right through Craigslist, right locally. There are times where I've had to go to like another state away, maybe 3 hours away, to buy something, and I've had to do that with great success. There's only been one time where I was stood up selling something on Craigslist. I had replied to an ad for a Honda generator for sale, and I ended up meeting the person where he said he wanted to meet, and he was a no-show. There was no communication. I couldn't get a hold of him. To this day, I still don't know who he was, or if he was real. So That I would say very rarely happens. Like I said, that only happened to me one time. And other than that, I have had nothing but success, great success selling things on Craigslist. I absolutely love Craigslist. It's a very underground marketplace, and the government doesn't have their hands in anything and trying to get taxes from anything. Not yet. And so I really like that part of it. And I've met a lot of great people through Craigslist. I just find it to be an extremely helpful thing. I mean, I have even, I've sold houses on Craigslist. I mean, that was where the lead came from. It came from Craigslist. The person that actually bought the house, it came from Craigslist. I've bought a house. My second house that I bought through Craigslist. It's really interesting. You think about those large transactions, and you think about the amount of dollars that people spend on advertising to advertise things such as real estate. And and it was like, when I bought that property through real estate, I mean, that was a zero cost transaction. I mean, it didn't cost anybody anything. So I think that's pretty amazing. So yeah, I have bought cars, I've sold cars, I have bought and sold a lot of things. I really enjoy buying and selling. I wish that I could make a small business out of it, and I could, to some degree, and it's something that I've played with. I really enjoyed. What I enjoy doing is wholesaling, where that's where you buy something way below value, and then you resell it for a little bit of a markup, a little bit of a profit. It's generally not a lot, but it in a lot of cases it can be plenty enough to pay your bills. So I really enjoy that, and I've also thought about like doing some type of consignment business. That's kind of where I've always thought was doing like a consignment on certain niche things, whether that be, I don't know, vehicles or certain types of ATVs, or you find one thing, and there are people that do this in the country. They travel around and they buy things, whether it be antiques, and they buy this stuff, for very, very cheap, and then they either trade it or they resell it, and then they go to the next location. And I think that is actually a pretty viable business. You just have to be in the right niche, and you have to understand, what you're buying, and it also has to be profitable enough so that it's worth your time doing it. Um, so going back to Craigslist, the last house that I owned back in 2013, it was about almost an 1800 square foot home. I had a large shop in it, with I mean, you could park, a Class A RV into the shop I had. It was a huge shop, and I had lots of tools. And I'm a real do-it-yourselfer, handyman type person. I try to do as many things as I can myself. I fix and repair as many things as I can within my expertise. And if it's outside of my expertise, then I have the best out there repair it, fix it. I send it to a professional to have it repaired or fixed or refurbished or what have you. So I bought and sold a I sold a lot of I sold everything on through right through Craigslist. And I didn't I didn't I did very well. I was able to sell everything. And but like I said, there are some people out there that don't enjoy doing that. They don't like meeting people. They don't like that whole selling and negotiation process. Some people call it haggling. I personally enjoy it. I like the haggling process. I like the negotiation. Everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. And that's something that I learned many years ago, early on, is everything is negotiable, and that really changed a lot of things for me. Because a lot of people think that the sales process is it's very cookie cutter, and it's not cookie cutter. The selling process, it can be anything that you want to be, anything that you want it to be. You can you suggest things, you can trade things, You can exchange things. You can trade your time for things. You could, there's a whole host of things that you can do there with negotiation. So I sold furniture. I sold tools. I sold a lot of different things, and typically, how I do that is I write a good copy. I write a good advertisement. I include as many pictures as I can, and when I do an advertisement, I try to answer as many questions as I can think of in my head about what a prospective buyer would ask about this thing. So that's very, very important when you're advertising on Craigslist, is you want to display everything. You want to tell the whole story. You don't want to hide anything. You want to explain things very well. You want to post as many pictures as you possibly can. And pictures are a really, really, really big deal. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of taking quality pictures. And when you do take pictures, you have to think about the background, and that's very important as well. Most of the advertisements I'll just say it, as far as I'm concerned, about 80% of the advertisements that people sell on Craigslist, they suck. Their pictures are absolutely terrible. They've got a bunch of nonsense in the background, and that's distracting. And then that background, can be telling other stories. It can be presenting some doubt in the mind of the buyer. So there's a lot of psychology behind all of this, and I have studied and I've read a lot of books on selling and marketing and advertising. So some of the things I'm talking about here will play into some of that wisdom that I've gained. So yes, pictures are a really big deal, and that, like I said, that's something that you want to take the best absolute pictures you can, and that would go to and it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you're selling a car or a trinket or a $500,000 home, your pictures should all be very high quality. And as far as pricing goes, typically when I price things, I'm always trying to create some type of a value proposition. I'm trying to create value with every single thing that I sell. I don't want to be way on the top, and I don't want to be way on the bottom. I want to be a little bit below the top of the price scale of whatever the item is that I'm selling. So I just want to create this perceived value. And then there's a lot of things that you can also offer in your sales. You could offer delivery of the item. Like I said, your whole goal is to create as much value as you can. If you're trying to sell a piece of furniture or a mattress, you can put in there, I will deliver free delivery up to so many miles. And those types of things, can make you sell as well. So what else can I say about Craigslist? I'll talk a little bit about phone numbers and email. When I sell things, I typically do not like to post my personal phone number in the email. Typically, the way I handle things is I will say, email me your phone number, and I will respond to you as soon as ASAP, as soon as possible. I will call you back as soon as possible. And then what that does is that everything funnels through my email, and then I have a record of that person. I have all of their contact information, and then typically if they respond back with their phone number, that tells me that they're very serious about purchasing this item, or they're very serious about getting some more information about it. And I'm not wasting my time with screening calls and all these other things that go on. Now, if I'm selling a car, for example, or maybe I've got something that I'm selling that's a smoking deal, okay, there are times when I will put my phone number on the advertisement, because I don't want to create a lot of barriers for myself. I don't want to create any obstacles for myself. I want people to be able to get a hold of me as fast as I possibly can. So in that particular situation, I would leave my phone number on the ad. And that brings me to another point that I would like to mention. overcoming barriers and obstacles. This is another thing that I see with people selling stuff on Craigslist. And every time I see it, I just laugh, because what these people are doing is they're just creating more obstacles for themselves. They're creating more barriers for themselves to selling whatever it is that they're selling. And some examples that I'm talking about is they will make comments like no lowballing, or no test drives without cash in hand. When people do that, they don't realize that they're creating barriers for themselves. People are going to just brush over that, because you don't want to create this in your ad, this persona like you are difficult to deal with. You want to create an ad that says, I'm easy to deal with, I want to do business with you, and I want to sell this item today. Okay? You want to create this image, this perception of your ad, that you're somebody, you're easy to deal with, you're simple to deal with, you're very accommodating, and this is another thing with price. I think it's okay to put or best offer, but typically I find in a lot of cases you want to create that value. Don't price everything at the top. Price it a little bit below. Create some value, and let them do the talking when it comes to price. This is where you need to be quiet. You need to shut up. You need to shut your mouth, and you need to use your ears, and you need to listen to what the buyers are saying. They may very well offer you exactly what it is that you're asking for the item. So you don't know what is going on in their minds. You don't know what they're thinking. So don't try to think for them. Let them do the talking when it comes to the price. So let me talk a little bit when we're talking about price. I'm going to tell you another little trick that I learned it from a guy that was selling something that I was interested on Craigslist. And one of the things is that when I talked to him on the phone, he told me before I came out and met him, he said that, he says to me, and I just want to let you know that I won't take anything less than what I'm asking for it. Okay. So he set the grounds right there. And I appreciated that, because by him doing that, that was going to let me know if I wanted to waste my time going out looking at it, or if I said, well, that's a good deal, I'm going to go look at it. So, but that's another thing. What you're doing there in that instance is you're pre-programming your buyers that this is my price, I'm firm on this price, and I'm not going to take anything less than it. So that's another strategy that can work if you're creating enough value in whatever you're selling, and maybe there isn't anybody else selling it. So maybe, like, for example, it's an enclosed trailer, and it's a certain size and certain dimensions, and you're the only person on Craigslist that's selling a trailer like this. That's a great situation where you can demand the price that you're asking for the item, and you can just leave it up to the buyer to decide or not. So that's another important thing with the negotiation of prices on Craigslist. Another thing, talk about your safety when selling on Craigslist. I typically, unless it's a big purchase item, or it's very difficult to move, I don't like to meet people at my home or my residence. I like to keep my privacy private. And that goes for like selling cars. I don't want these people coming to my house. I don't want them knowing where I live. It's not that I'm doing it. It's not that I'm doing anything shady. It's just that I want to keep my privacy private. And I think that is a fair and reasonable situation. So I highly recommend that you meet people at shopping centers, at public places where there's a lot of people around, and so you don't get yourself into any type of security situations. And like I said, there always can be situations where things can happen. There is good in the world and there's evil in the world. Okay, I have never had a problem with anything, and knock on wood in terms of security and everything like that. Like I said, everybody has been totally cool on Craigslist, and it's been an awesome experience. So let's see, what else can I say about this? And then of course, if there's in this process of downsizing your possessions, if there are things that you don't want to part with, then self storage is a great option. Self storage is a month to month contract. You can stay for 1 month and you can leave the next month. You're not in it for very long. There's lots of different sizes that you can rent every month. You can rent really small. You can rent really large. I think self storage is an excellent option for dealing with your possessions and the things that you want to keep and you don't want to sell and you don't want to get rid of. And and that's a very great solution to be able to deal with those things. So with that, I'm sure I may have left out a couple of things, but those are some of the big points that I wanted to hit on with downsizing your possessions, selling Craigslist, buying on Craigslist. Please comment below if you have some more questions, and I will get back to those as soon as I can. And until next time, YouTube, you guys have an awesome day.